A young man wakes up in the middle of a graveyard at night, in a half-bent position, as if climbing out of a grave. A staggering thought resounds in his mind. Has he been reborn? Once on the surface, he feels the stiffness of his new body and jokes about its weakness. It seems the previous owner clearly didn't care about nutrition. Before that, he was sitting in his home and downloaded a game called Plants vs. Zombies Synthetic Version. However, as soon as he opened the program, the computer screen went blank and he lost consciousness. Now he looks at the surrounding landscape, a gloomy forest of graves, and tries to realize where he's ended up. Is this still his world? Or is it something else entirely? It dawns on him that he should have supported the developers instead of playing the pirated version. Perhaps that was the reason for his mysterious arrival here. Soon he notices a gravestone with his name engraved on it, Zhang Wei's grave. Realization descends upon him. His new body belongs to this man. Flashbacks pop up in his mind, confirming the hunch. He is indeed Zhang Wei now, and this is his own grave. As he tries to make sense of the situation, he realizes that the previous owner of the body was already dead when the transmigration occurred. If he had arrived earlier, he might have been able to synchronize with the body better. Shrugging, he decides that since he's alive now, he should just bury the grave. It's bad luck to leave it open. Suddenly, a green glow appears in front of him, projecting holographic screens. The traveler's system has finally activated. His eyes are wide open, expressing surprise and horror. A green light is reflected in the young man's eyes, and his face is contorted with shock. A game-like interface appears on the screen. He sees a 54-cell manor layout and is confused that it looks like a real game interface. The interface prompts him to open the plant guide. He decides to follow the instructions, hoping to understand what is happening. Once in a new window, he sees information about a plant that turns out to be a spiritual sunflower. He is amazed. This is clearly no ordinary game. He studies the properties of the spirit sunflower, which turns out to produce spirit energy. After realizing that it has a direct relation to his new world, he begins to realize that he has entered the world of cultivators. He also discovers that the pea now has a new, strange appearance and abilities. This plant now has powerful combat characteristics, further confirming that he has found himself in an unusual world. He begins to ponder if plants can be improved, and wonders if that would lead to evolution into something more powerful, like the Bean Emperor. He realizes that he has entered the world of immortal cultivators, where the main value is spirit energy. Now, by managing a manor, he can cultivate plants that produce spirit energy every day. He joyfully discovers that he can receive 55 units of spirit energy daily. This seems to him to be a real stroke of luck and a chance for success in this new world. Ordering the plant to grow, he watches as a new sunflower emerges from the ground, which will now help him on his journey. Footsteps sound in the distance, and the young man tenses. He wasn't sure who was approaching, but he felt uneasy. Realizing that his return to life must not be revealed, he rushes to escape. However, his body is not yet accustomed to the movements, so he decides to hide. There is crying in the distance, someone begging for something, and objects are scattered around. The atmosphere becomes even more ominous. A girl in mourning clothes appears, with tears in her eyes. She begs to be allowed to do one last thing for her brother. A man with a sword stands before her, demanding that she throw the ritual papers into the pit and he burn the body with immortal fire. The girl pleads in desperation to leave her brothers, body untouched, reminding the man that they were best friends. The young man lurks in the grave, watching what is happening. He realizes that the situation is becoming more and more tense. A memory pops into his mind. It's his younger sister, Zhang Qian. The former body master died while gathering herbs to pay for her training. The second man is Lin Hao, their countryman, who passed the Cultivator Sect exam. He is now using Zhang Wei's death to pressure Zhang Qian. The girl says sorrowfully that her brother never married because he always took care of her. She begs him to come back to her, even if as a ghost. Lin Hao mockingly rebukes her for spending the silver given to her on these things. He then declares that if she wants more money, she must serve him. Suddenly, the girl rushes towards the grave, which infuriates Lin Hao. He shouts, demanding an explanation. Lin Hao grabs the girl by the neck in a rage, screaming that she belongs to him. He can't believe that she dared to try to commit suicide. He slaps her face mercilessly, stating that she needs a lesson. The girl is unable to resist. She falls to the ground, wondering if her tormentor has lost any vestiges of humanity in the pursuit of power. Suddenly, there is a loud voice filled with rage. A young man with burning eyes bursts out of the grave. Lin Hao recoiled, crying out in horror that Zhang Wei was dead and couldn't be here. The girl, seeing her brother, cannot hold back her tears. She is happy that he has come back to her. However, Lin Hao refuses to believe his eyes. After all, he had personally checked Jiang Wei's body and knew that he was dead. He concludes that Jiang Wei has become a zombie while retaining his mind. Moreover, he remembers that if you harden such a body in molten iron, it will become invulnerable. Lin Hao starts laughing, calling him and his sister his lucky stars. He wants to make Jiang Qian his concubine, and Jiang Wei his bodyguard. With Thuliram, those words, he pulls out his sword, stating that he will show Jiang Wei the new swordsmanship techniques he has learned. The girl rushes towards Lin Hao, begging her brother to flee. However, her opponent declares with cold fury that her brother has been dead for a long time and he will end this zombie right now. The man with the sword decides to act, but the young man says he hasn't hit him with his fists in a long time. The one scoffs. You want to fight a cultivator with your fists? The young man assesses the situation. Ling Hao has been training for half a year and has clearly become stronger. He, on the other hand, only possesses a single spiritual plant for now, but there might be other ways of strengthening in the system. There is no way to back down. After accepting the body of his former owner, he decides to fulfill his last wish and hopes that the system will provide him with some clues. Just then, he notices two sections, the plant guide and the zombie guide. He has just studied the former, but the latter remains a mystery. Looking over the information, he realizes that his current form is a regular zombie, practically useless except for not feeling pain. However, he has room for improvement. He can become a zombie brain guardian or an ironhead zombie, but all upgrades are blocked for now. In order to fight the cultivator, he urgently needs to advance further. Ling Hao wastes no time in unleashing a powerful attack on him. The young man realizes that the manual doesn't specify the conditions for evolution, but suddenly a hunch hits him. He looks through the system and guesses. The key to evolution is plants. Determined, he activates the system and forces the zombie to eat a spiritual sunflower. His body is immediately filled with powerful energy. He feels his level rise sharply and comes to the conclusion, yes, zombies are designed to devour plants. All of the flower's spiritual energy is transferred into his body. In the same instant, his strength soared to the great perfection level of the first stage of qi refining. Ling Hao is shocked. After all, he himself had spent half a year of training to only recently set foot on this path. How could a zombie break through his defenses? The young man grins, declaring that it is now his turn to attack. He rushes forward with a wild cry, ready to repay Ling Hao for his sister. The cultivator shouts in panic that he can't be killed because he is immortal, but fear and shock take over and he collapses, unconscious with terror. The young man is confused. He didn't mean to kill him. It seems that zombies in this world are so frightening that they can drive an enemy to death just by the sight of them. Suddenly, the system says, "You have a new zombie. Type, normal zombie. Characteristics synchronized." Lin Hao, who he had just defeated, was now his subordinate zombie. The protagonist realizes that the zombie guide can automatically collect corpses. He enthusiastically ponders that if he finds a graveyard of gods and demons, it will be sheer luck. It turns out that the assembled zombies can synchronize their characteristics with the main zombie, which opens up huge possibilities. The system confirms that the main zombie has obtained Ling Hao's cultivation ability and has reached the great perfection level of the first stage of qi refining. He notices that his body has become much more flexible, assuming that this is due to his synchronization with Ling Hao, who had just died. Fully realizing the power of the system, he wonders which path of immortality to choose now. Making a decision, he sets out to find a place where he can hide, grow plants, and create new zombies. 3 days pass, and he and his sister are traveling along a forest trail, heading for Shenjia village where they plan to stop for the night. He prods his sister, telling her that she is walking too slowly. However, her behavior seems concerned. The girl notices that he doesn't eat, drink, or get tired at all, which is not at all like her brother. He tries to convince her that this is just the final glow of sunset and that his condition has even improved. However, her reaction, a cautious stepping back, makes it clear that she does not believe him. Jiang Wei recalls that when he woke up, he decided to play a joke on the girl by saying that he had only pretended to be dead. However, she didn't believe him and immediately retreated 5 steps away. To see if her brother is really her brother, the girl starts asking questions. When he gets confused, she backs away again, not believing him. She continues to test him by asking tricky questions. He answers another question about his neighbor's rise time incorrectly, and the girl disappointedly corrects him again. The girl reaches questions about childhood games, battle scars, and gifts that he clearly doesn't know the answer to. His face becomes increasingly battered, as if each wrong answer was physical torture. He realizes that this Jiang Wei really died a long time ago. Scientifically speaking, his brain cells had died, which meant that he could not inherit memories. The girl, watching him, hides embarrassedly behind a tree, her eyes full of doubt and worry. The protagonist comes to realize that the only thing he has inherited is perhaps a mission from a past life. He opens the system window and sees that Jiang Wei was most concerned about his sister before she died. His task is to find her a safe place to live. The girl, clenching her fists, says she knows. Her brother is dead and asks not to be deceived. She begs him not to touch her brother's body, to let her bury him in peace, her eyes full of tears. Young man realizes that Jiang Wei was incredibly happy to have such a caring sister. He admits that he is no longer her brother and doesn't know who he is now, but assures her that he will make her happy since that was Jiang Wei's last wish. The girl, not holding back her emotions, rushes to him and begs him to take her to her brother. The young man reflects on his condition. His body remains warm and flexible, but he no longer feels tired, hungry, or sleepy. At the same time, he wants to cry but cannot. The girl finally calms down, finding some comfort in his words. They arrive in the village of Shenjia. He realizes that it is impossible for him to return to his old village because Jiang Wei is officially considered dead and his house has long been deserted. To convince the village elder that he is an immortal cultivator, the young man uses his strength and breaks through the wall with a single blow. Later, however, he has to work hard to rebuild what was destroyed. The village chief agrees to adopt the girl, formally making her his daughter, thanks to money found from Lin Hao. When she falls asleep, the young man is relieved that his mission is complete and watches her with a warm smile. Jiang Wei says with a smile that the road to immortality is long, but one day when it becomes famous, will definitely come back for her. A holographic image of the young man in the equip interface appears on the screen, indicating that his body can be equipped. He decides to use Lin Hao's sword since he has nothing else at hand. After equipping, the system informs him that this sword only marginally enhances his body's defenses, much to his disappointment. 3 days pass.
He is happy to realize that he has learned a lot in the 6 days since his arrival in this world. He summarizes, he has planted 5 rows of spiritual sunflowers during this time and will receive 32 units of spiritual energy by midnight of the
7th day. At the appointed moment, it gathers energy that transforms into green swirls. Thinking about the future, he decides to plant different kinds of plants that will help him in battle and defense. He is also going to strengthen his zombies so that they can consume spiritual sunflowers and become stronger. His daily energy gain is now 31 units. With his current strength, he is able to withstand blows at the 5th level of QE tempering, as well as set up sweet potato mines that deal damage. He now feels truly strong and is ready to complete the mission left behind by Lin Hao when he was alive. The hero says with a smile that his mission after death is actually his rebirth. A system with tasks flashes up in front of him, including making trouble for Jiang Wei, returning the collected herbs, and avoiding the zombie wave. The hero is shocked by what he sees. He ponders what a zombie wave is, admitting that he doesn't understand this world very well. He decides to find the Jade Source sect first, and then make further plans. He examines the flashing object, assuming it is a tool for navigating within the cult. Pointing the device in different directions, he notices that it flashes more strongly, in one direction, which probably indicates a path. At this moment, he activates his energy and changes with Lin Hao's body, becoming a zombie Lin Hao. Soon he hears someone yelling that 2-headed wolfhounds are proving to be incredibly tenacious and hard to kill. In the distance, he notices a girl surrounded by monsters. She asks him to wait, but admits that she has almost no spiritual energy left. The 2 sect girls held their defenses, discussing that they could use the Jade Sword technique 3 more times, hoping for help from the Marshall brothers. The hero realizes that one of them is Ling Hao's older sister, which means he has a chance to save them and earn the sect's trust. Confident in his abilities, he is ready to enter the battle. The protagonist rushes to the aid of the 2 girls, yelling that help is already here. Unexpectedly, the system informs him that there are materials that can be used to be absorbed by the plants. The hero is surprised and agrees to collect them. He hurriedly tells the older sisters to wait as he wants to study the instructions first, causing them to be perplexed. The girls are furious, accusing Lin Hao of daring to bully them. They look threatening. The young man activates the absorption function and decides to use the spiritual sunflower. The spiritual sunflower begins to transform, absorbing the power of the two-headed wolfhound. Evolution results in a new species, spiritual twin sunflowers that doubles the production of spiritual energy. The hero is shocked to realize that his system allows for the synthesis of creatures. He realizes that through the absorption of the two-headed wolfhound and the spiritual sunflower, a new, more powerful version has emerged. As he calculates the result, he notices that 2 wolfhounds have died, 6 are still alive, and thanks to the new improvement, the efficiency of spiritual sunflower production is now twice as high. A young man with burning eyes rushes into the fight, assuring the girls that they cannot be afraid. He is already rushing to help. He deftly grabs the two-headed wolf by the necks, holding it in a stranglehold, but the girl warns him to be careful. After the fight, he nonchalantly asks if the girls would mind leaving him all the bodies of the defeated monsters, to which they agree, albeit a little confused. The girls are worried about the young man, but he reassures them, assuring them that he can cope with these lousy creatures. However, they soon notice that his movements have become erratic and uncoordinated, which causes them concern. He continues to fight with his bare hands, yelling loudly and throwing punches, which looks pretty weird. One of the girls is perplexed, as she thinks he is fighting a bloody battle for them, but her companion clearly notices something amiss. The blonde begins to regret how badly she treated him because at the most critical moment he did not run away, unlike the rest of the Battle Brothers. She, clasping her hands in supplication, mentally promises to fulfill a certain promise if the young man returns to the sect unharmed. Meanwhile, he is amazed at his strength, claiming that his attacks are now 12 times stronger, and with one blow he can take off the head of a two-headed wolf. Ling Hao smilingly killed the last wolf cub and happily declared that the 9th enemy had fallen. This was the end of the fight. His face is covered in blood, but he only smiles, confidently, and offers the girls to return to the cult. They look scared. However, looking at their reactions, he is alarmed and asks why they are looking at him like that. Are there new monsters? The girls are shocked to see him and ask him to stop, because he has already done enough. A disturbing thought arises in Lin Hao's mind. Did he really give himself away? Could it be that cultivators recognize each other by breathing? Or were they alerted by the fact that he didn't use sect techniques? He realizes that his secret about time travel is the most important one. But now he is faced with the question, will he have to kill them to hide the truth? But he has read too many novels to take such a step. One of the girls points out his condition worriedly, warning that if he doesn't treat his wound, he could die. Zhao Wei as Lin Hao looks puzzled, but next to him, one of the two-headed wolfmen suddenly appears beside him, biting his hand. The young man shakes the wolfhound's head slightly, looking thoughtful, but the beast remains motionless. That's when panic sharply distorts his face. He realizes that zombies don't feel pain. All this time he thought they were hard to kill because of their tough bodies, but in fact they just don't feel damage. On top of that, he realizes another detail. Since he's a zombie, he can't feel not only pain, but pleasure. LOL. Man excuses himself that the path to immortality requires insensitivity, and he was just ahead of the others. The girls worryingly ask if he is all right. He decides to remove the corpses of the two-headed dogs first. The girls remind him that these are his spoils of war, and it is better to store them in a spatial bag so as not to attract new monsters. The young man with a satisfied smile activates the interface and commands to put all the monsters in the manor. His virtual farm with many plants appears on the screen. He is happy that he gets 9 units of spiritual energy every day and, with a chuckle, wonders if these monsters have friends or relatives. The girl calls him by name and he asks in surprise if they're going back to the cult yet. One of them confesses that they have been fighting for a long time. All the elixirs have run out, and she is hungry. The other remarks that the meat of a killed dog must be of good quality. The young man is horrified by their offer and immediately refuses. The girls try to justify themselves, saying they just need to fill their stomachs. He firmly states that he is not hungry, but they have already prepared bear meat as a treat. They display the carcass of a huge bear shrouded in a golden glow, claiming that this piece is enough to taste its flavor. The hero looks at the storage pouch in surprise, realizing that it is a dimensional pouch, but he doesn't know how to open it. He activates the system and a notification appears that plant absorption materials have been found on his estate. He is asked to collect them. The girls watch in amazement as their prey disappears in front of them. They are shocked and do not understand what is happening. They scream in horror, asking where the bear paw they were just holding has disappeared to. They accuse the hero of going too far, but he makes a panicked excuse, saying his hands worked. too fast. Suddenly, something strange catches their attention. All three turn around anxiously. A rotten hand bursts out of the ground and the girls bounce away in panic. They realize it's a wave of zombies. The girl orders an urgent run back to the sect's gathering place and takes cover in a protective formation. The ground splits open, and a multitude of dead men's hands begin to climb out, threatening to surround them. The young man himself turned, his attention to the top. Looking up, he notices a figure floating in the sky in the sunlight. It was a girl with 2 braids. Speaking of which, why is she wearing so few clothes? There! That's better. The main character is amazed by the sight of a mysterious woman floating in the air. His eyes are full of admiration, and he thinks she's incredibly cool, but he also shows her an unkind gesture. He is stunned by the woman's disappearance while panic sets in around him. The girls scream in fear at the approaching zombie horde. One of the girls falls and the dead man reaches for her, grabbing her leg. The protagonist rushes to her aid, confidently declaring that he will save her. He activates the system in an attempt to merge Bean Brother with the bear's power, but the transformation proves incomplete. However, it is enough, and the suddenly reanimated dead man is frightened. The protagonist uses the power of the bear, increasing his power and directing his attack. He's confident in his strength, but the zombie won't let go of the girl's leg, creating a new problem. The girl, to her horror, flies up into the sky, desperately begging for rescue. At the last moment, the protagonist catches her in his arms, kicking away zombies in the process. The girl screams in panic. Warning Lin Hao that there are zombies behind him, they begin to run away, realizing they are surrounded, and urgently look for a way to break through. The blonde says that while she was in the air, she noticed a safe direction where there were no zombies. The protagonist confidently commands to run in the indicated direction, showing his fighting spirit. He comes face to face with the zombie, threateningly stating that if he continues to stare, he will get hit. Wasting no time, he delivers a powerful kick with his foot, knocking a zombie to the ground and attacking another at the same time. 3 hours later, the group comes to their senses, satisfied that they were able to get out without a scratch. The girls thanked Ling Hao for his strength, suspecting that he was practicing body hardening. The older sister begins to hint at gratitude as she approaches him, causing him to have mixed emotions. Lin Hao realizes that if he shows too much strength, his zombie identity will be revealed, making him nervous. A young man complains of pains all over his body and feels a strange influence on his lower body. He decides to lie down so as not to be influenced by the evil energy that rages within him. However, his behavior seems comical. The girls look at him unhappily, mentally rebuking him for his manner of refusal. He analyzes the memory fragments left behind by Ling Hao and realizes that the wave of zombies was caused by the fall of a heavenly Lord who surpassed the boundaries of tribulation. However, he admits that he does not have enough knowledge of cultivation realms, training methods, and heavenly treasures, which might make it difficult for him to develop. The girls are excited to see a new character who calls them little sisters and expresses joy that they were able to escape to safety. They are ecstatic because Big Brother Wong, whom they consider to be a third-level chi refining genius, has returned. They are confident that they can safely return to the sect with him. However, the young man looks at the situation with skepticism because he left for reinforcements, but for some reason returned alone. Brother Wong smiles and greets Lin Hao with a mysterious intonation, noting that it is a pleasure to meet him. Then his face changes, and he says threateningly that he has no trouble killing one more person. The girl is horrified and asks why he is saying that. He indifferently declares that he is going to take all the healing herbs they have collected to use as bribes. 3 days later, when he is accepted into the inner sect, he will be able to get rid of his status as an outer disciple. His obsession with status becomes obvious. He cries out that the inner sect gives the best resources, techniques, and training from the elders, through which immortality can be gained. He attacks the girls, grabbing them by the throat, and they desperately beg him to stop, because without these herbs, they will all be kicked out of the cult. Dies. Protagonist remains calm and even mockingly notes that the breakthrough has literally come to his door. He uses his system and causes a spiritual sunflower. The others look at him in confusion, not realizing what he's doing. Senior Brother Wang is amazed. The energetic aura of this flower overflows all around. It is a priceless treasure. His greed takes over, and he rushes to the hero, demanding to give him the flower because it will help him get into the inner sect. However, the hero remains unperturbed and, chewing on a flower, offers the man a taste. The one in a rage demands to give him the plant, but the hero simply walks away, ignoring him. Wang starts chasing Zhang in a frenzy while the girls watch the chaos. The girls discuss what happened, marveling at what Big Brother Wang did. One of them reminds them that Lin Hao has saved them again, pointing in the direction where the zombie horde is raging. They decide to return to the sect, confident that Lin Hao is strong enough to survive. Wang angrily looks around the night forest, shouting out the question, "Where did you disappear to?" At that moment, a zombie with a creepy smile appears in front of him, mockingly saying that he is about to attack. Our guy in Zhang Wei's body ponders that he took on this appearance on purpose so Wang wouldn't recognize him. Suddenly, he realizes that the other zombies don't attack him, considering him their own. Wang activates his sword technique, Jade Sword Light, illuminating the darkness with a powerful stream of energy. Zhang is amazed when he sees it. He notes that it's safe to walk around with such a sword even at night, but wonders how much energy this technique consumes. Wang rushes forward with fury, destroying the zombies with a powerful sword strike shining with blue light. The young man, watching the scene, comments with a cold expression that Wang is indeed fierce. Wang happily shouts that he has destroyed all the zombies and urges Lin Hao to come out, assuring him that it's safe now. However, the situation takes an unexpected turn. A whole horde of zombies jump out of the darkness surrounding them. Lin Hao finds himself in the middle of lying on the ground, and Wang faces a new threat. Zhang, despite his audacity, prefers to avoid immediate conflict, making the excuse that he's just taking care of his body rather than fearing the enemy. Big Brother Wang notices that something is wrong. Ling Hao has disappeared after entering the forest. Realizing the threat, he activates the quick step technique to avoid being surrounded. He warns himself not to let his enemies surround him, deciding to stay in the open to move quickly. He plans to wait for a reaction for a time equal to 1 stick of incense, about 30 minutes, and if nothing changes, he will retreat. Anger flares up in him as he furiously curses Ling Hao, accusing him of not giving him the item he needed willingly. He, dreams that if he transfers this spiritual plant to the alchemy pavilion, he will be able to rise higher in status. Even being an ordinary worker is better than being killed by a zombie invasion. But then he feels the appearance of a powerful energy and realizes that the source of this spiritual aura is right behind him. Zhang smirks, reasoning that the best defense is offense. He is going to use his special technique and test how his enemy will deal with his 12 Bean brothers. He activates his ability by releasing small, glowing spheres, and his opponent reacts instantly by noticing them. The blonde-haired man is excited to see the spirit plant in front of him, not realizing that it is a trap. He smugly thinks that Ling Hao either chickened out or was killed by a zombie, leaving the plant here. Triumphantly, he announces that it now belongs to him. The man quickly climbs up the tree, clutching the spirit plant in his hands. But suddenly, his face smashes into the barrel with force, and sparks erupt from the impact. Losing his balance, he tumbles downward, spinning in the air and waving his arms frantically. Ling Hao scornfully accuses him of treachery, hypocrisy, and lust for murder for his own gain, calling him a selfish capitalist. Continuing to mock, Zhang states that if one strives for immortality but does not develop his heart, his instructions will never be wrong. The man had already prepared to fight back, but suddenly realizes that he is seriously wounded, and then that he is dead at all. Zhang is shocked at what has happened. Suddenly an interface appears in front of him, offering to collect the corpse. He involuntarily wonders if he is too strong. The system identifies the body as Wang Tianliang, an ordinary zombie with an inferior fire spirit root and a 3rd-level key tempering stage. His second mission cannot be completed, for the dead can no longer die. Zhang looks at the stuffed storage bag with a satisfied smile, calling it his biggest trophy. He is going through his loot, spiritual stones, scrolls with the techniques of the Jade Source sect, but his attention is drawn to a strange odor that seems unusual to him. The protagonist is delighted with his find. He has the rest of the wild bear in his hands, which will allow him to complete the synthesis of his bean brother. He also finds herbs with spiritual energy, which are likely mission objectives. On top of that, he discovers a map. After weighing his resources, the young man realizes that he has enough spiritual energy, skills, and even a map, and his zombie body is free of hunger, thirst, and fatigue. He decides to get lost among the zombies and cultivate until he reaches the level he needs. After carefully studying the map, he notices a place marked on it, the cave of the 2-headed wolves, deciding to go there. Looking around, he realizes it's not that far away. Soon, he reaches a massive cave entrance surrounded by dense vegetation. Before entering the cave, he decides to try a piece of spiritual sunflower, but notices that it begins to glow. After realizing his mistake, he realizes that he took the wrong item. Suddenly, his gaze comes across a set of glowing eyes watching him from the darkness. Finding himself surrounded by aggressive two-headed wolves, he nervously tries to defuse the situation, but realizes that the situation is serious. The hero decides to test the wolves' reaction to his object by bringing it near them. They start to follow the burning stick, dogs. The protagonist, with his hand raised, tries to subdue the two-headed wolves, but one of them attacks sharply, releasing a clawed paw. He realizes the truth. The man he suspected was indeed the villain who lured the wolves to kill the older sisters for his own gain. In a rage, the hero uses a powerful technique, chopping up wolves with glowing blades. He shouts out, "Bastard!" Hours pass. The entrance to the cave remains silent. Fog drifts in at the entrance. The character sits in the cave in front of the interface, looking at his 5 rows of spiritual sunflowers, now upgraded to double spiritual. Sunflowers. He feels how much stronger he has become. However, he has a new problem. How do I start cultivating? I don't even understand the basic method. The system interface reports that his dual spiritual sunflowers produce 60 units of spiritual energy per day plus 1 unit naturally, totaling 61 units. More and more energy is required to advance to the next level. He realizes that he has already eaten 5 spiritual sunflowers. His spiritual energy has advanced to the 3rd level, but he has yet to master cultivation techniques to use his power to its fullest. To begin the path to immortality, he must first activate his spiritual roots. The higher their quality, the stronger the perception and potential for cultivation. He recalls that there are special immortal talents and divine bodies. Their appearance is accompanied by celestial visions, and such people become masters of great sects. As for the protagonist, he can synchronize the collected templates with Jiang Wei's body. The body itself could be cultivated, and that was its biggest flaw. The protagonist realizes that his biggest problem is not only his inability to cultivate, but that he is so dead that even the zombies take him for their own. If he is spotted by powerful people, it could end badly for him. Horrified, he realizes that perhaps because he has been resurrected, he may be turned into powder and used as an aphrodisiac. He recalls that elder brother Wang sought ways to improve his abilities because of his weak spiritual roots. These methods included root replacement, taking over someone else's body, blood exchange, and bone marrow purification pills. There were also legendary magic medicines and other methods of enhancement that he believed could only be found in the sect. The protagonist thinks it would be great if he could grow his own miracle medicines, plant 54 trees and sell them at a rate. That moment, the system shows the list of missions of Wang's older brother. It turns out that the second mission, to survive the zombie invasion, has already been completed, as he can safely be among them. He rejoices as he realizes that not all zombie bodies are useless, and now he can use the reward missions to solve his cultivation problem. The hero realizes that not only does he need to get the reward for the missions, but he also needs to find a way to make Jiang Wei's body suitable for cultivation. With confidence, he walks out of the cave, having made a decision to join the inner sect. 3 days go by. An unknown guy is found beaten and bleeding. Some guys taunt him, asking if he can repay his debt. One of them orders him to bring his father's axe to deal with him. The hero looks at the badly wounded man, noting that his wounds are too serious. He recalls an incident from his past world when 3 villains killed a teenager in the same way. He is seething with rage. If there was nothing he could do in his former world, here he will make these scum pay for what they have done. One of the offenders shouts in panic that he will call his uncle if the hero is so bold. However, he wastes no time and delivers a devastating blow. The victim of the blow falls, closing in pain, bleeding. The others watch in horror. The hero stands, bloodied with an intimidating look. One of the attackers is panting, his face twisted with fear, because it's not every day that your comrade gets his head blown off. The surviving enemy begins begging for mercy, stating that he has realized his mistake and wants to be released. However, the hero looks at him coldly, stating that he hasn't realized his mistake. He just realizes that he's about to die. The terrified opponent screams in panic, but he can't escape. The blow strikes without hesitation right on his knee. The hero examines the victim holding a bloody weapon. He asks the wounded man a question. Will he still be able to hold on? But unfortunately, the wounded young man is unable to hold on. His eyes were empty, so Jiang Wei closes his eyes so that his soul can go in peace. The protagonist is sitting near a dead young man, and killed enemies are lying nearby. A message appears on the screen saying that dead bodies have been found and asking you to collect them. He chooses collect without hesitation, after which his body is transmigrated into the dead young man's body. The process is complete, and the body transforms into a new undead warrior. The system reports that the transformation is complete. The young man he picked up now has glowing green eyes, and a frightened opponent is standing in front of him. His name is Wang Fa. He realizes he needs a fresh, recently deceased corpse to reduce the likelihood of exposure. The protagonist reflects on 3 days when he could neither kill nor save those caught in a zombie infestation. Now he looks at one of his captives and says that beasts have no right to reason about morality. He decides to use the captive as bait. The map shows that the trail of a brutal bear of strength is nearby. A giant bear with burning eyes growls as it approaches the captive. One of the survivors cries out in panic for help, promising to serve as a slave in exchange for life, but he is already drawn to the beast. A dying man furiously utters that even if he becomes a ghost, he will not let go of the man sitting on top. The protagonist is sitting in a tree. In front of him, a holographic screen with information about the past owner of the body. It turns out that this boy was kind and gentle, and before his death did not leave any missions related to revenge. He attacks the huge bear sharply, bringing its head down with a powerful blow. After the battle, the system offers to collect the corpses, but the hero disdainfully refuses, letting them decompose in the ground. The scene changes abruptly. A beautiful girl in traditional dress stands in front of the large staircase leading up to the temple. She calls the next registrant. The girl looks down in surprise, clearly not expecting to see whoever is standing in front of her. The protagonist is now wearing different clothes and a strange mask. Introducing himself as Wang Fa, a 13-year-old boy who has come to the Jade Source sect for the sake of immortality. Other newcomers crowd around, one by one approaching the check-in table, calling out their names. The girl explains that out of 100 ordinary people, only 3 can set foot on the path of cultivation, and those with outstanding abilities are extremely rare. She continues speaking, explaining that cultivation isn't just a natural talent. Purifying elixirs, creating artifacts, developing the mind, and comprehending the Tao are all equally valid paths. She then mentions that she's been cultivating for 3 years, and now she has a chance to show her power in front of the mortals. However, the unrest caused by the zombie invasion has disrupted all plans, and the elders still haven't returned. The woman announces that the next step is to pass 3 trials in the cult, urging her to pay attention to her spiritual shuttle. Suddenly, a huge bird flies over her, which catches the girl's attention. The person who arrived on top of this bird was Elder Ma. The girl introduces herself as Wang Yiling and greets Elder Ma. An old man with a gray beard frowns, stating that there are no people with outstanding talents among those being tested, and orders everyone to be kicked out. The woman tries to object, explaining that their branch of the sect is located in the mountains and has a shortage of people, with thousands of applicants arriving every year. Thuisaiki. Old man says that when the threat of the zombie wave is gone, all the troops will return to the main sect. The elder is not happy. He fears the sect will be filled with mediocre people and wonders who will be responsible. The old man activates a powerful martial art, creating a golden light around the students. The eye. Woman with a serious look calls this technique the secret art of foundation construction, Qiankong sleeve. The old man points to a group of children, explaining that they are the ones who will be tested. A flying sword suddenly pierces the eye. Air, accompanied by words accusing Elder Ma of interfering too much in the sect's selection process. The voice wryly inquires how many benefits the latter has received from the mortal lords. Elder Ma parries the accusation, saying that the senior disciple of the Sword Pavilion, Zhang Ziyue, is not related to him, but is directly related to the Sword Pavilion itself. A girl in a light dress appears in the air, floating above the stage. She grinned and said that Elder Ma, who had temporarily taken over as head of the pavilion, had gotten too into character and had lost sight of his exalted status. The girl politely but defiantly greets her older sister, showing confidence in her words and actions. An angry Elder Ma reminds her that her master is the Lord of the Sword Pavilion, but that doesn't give her the right to disrespect her elders. He warns her that he has no intention of giving in on this matter. With a slight chuckle, the girl replies that as a disciple of the Sword Pavilion, she is obligated to follow the righteous path and cannot ignore injustice even if someone doesn't like it. She lands in front of Elder Ma, showing determination and superiority. The atmosphere between them heats up. The girl summons her sword and it instantly rushes towards her hand. In response, Elder Ma activates a defense technique, preparing for a confrontation. Elder Ma, surrounded by a glow of powerful energy, declares that now, as her master, he will check how far her cultivation has progressed in the past half a year. In the background, the main character watches the unfolding battle with rapt attention, merrily eating a watermelon. He comments that it will be interesting to see how a direct disciple of the Sword Pavilion will fight against a corrupt elder. A young masked man offers a woman to comment on the upcoming fight, but she doesn't know what he's talking about. He explains that viewers are interested in details: cultivation level, fighters' skills, their past victories and defeats. The woman gets annoyed and scolds him for being disrespectful. Frightened, the young man quickly changes tactics and begins to praise Elder Ma's martial arts and her own talent in an attempt to make amends. The woman in blue says with a smile that people's fates are like clouds, changeable and unpredictable. She suggests that all students should be evaluated equally. Elder Ma recognizes her broad views, noting that her sect is indeed fortunate to have obtained such a great disciple. However, he has doubts about the masked youth, stating that he has a nasty temper and could turn into a dangerous demon if he becomes a cultivator. The woman in blue disagrees, stating that she wants to test the young man's abilities personally. The young man notes that she is very tall, almost as tall as his main body, and concludes that the cult must have good nutrition. The woman marvels at his potential, but notices that his pulse is too weak to detect hidden abilities. The young man's inner monologue confirms that this is due to his unique body. In an attempt to hide the truth, he makes up a ridiculous story about his birth and miraculous healing from a mysterious plant, but the woman is clearly unimpressed by his story. The old man watches carefully, noting that the young man seems to have had several unexpected encounters that made him think he was a son of destiny. Now he understands his audacity. The woman in the white dress looks at the young man and tells him to attack her so she can gauge his strength. The young man suddenly grabs hold of her clothes and performs a throw over her shoulder, shouting the technique loudly. The woman did not expect such a maneuver and blushes, and the next moment finds herself defeated. Terrified of the consequences, the young man quickly offers to test his strength on the old man instead. The old man silently watches the young man stretched out on the ground while a bird hovers in the air above him, adding to the comicality of the moment. The old man says that if the latter puts all his strength into attacking and shows himself worthy, he might hire him as an apprentice. The young man hesitates, asking if he can really attack at full strength, for he is afraid of hurting the old man. The woman in white confidently states that the old man will not stoop to his level, and the other woman only smiles cheerfully. The young man finally makes up his mind and mentally notes that he too wants to know the limit of his strength. He is ready to strike with all his might. A young man with a brightly glowing aura clenched his fist, resolutely declaring that with this blow, he would pave his way to immortality. Elder Ma, seeing the young man's strength, notes that despite his young age, he is quite strong. He wants to test his skills. Wang Yilin stops the young man, saying that there is no need for that. She explains that Elder Ma is too powerful, and attacking him could be seen as an act of defiance. She whispers to him that even if he joins the cult, there may be consequences waiting for him in the future. Jiang Zi assures the young man that the elder is smart. If he wants to join the sword cult, he will just have to apologize to Elder Ma. The young man thanks her for her concern, calling her big sister. The young man recalls that he has faced an influx of zombies before and knows how to deal with them. As a last resort, he can change his body. He wonders if the zombie invasion is related to his rebirth and speculates about the destruction it causes. He is also curious about a girl he met during the influx. Determined, the young man decides to put all his strength into this single blow, considering it his chance. Elder Ma, surrounded by a fiery aura, disdainfully remarks that the young man doesn't realize the extent of his capabilities. But suddenly, Elder Ma is startled. The girls are shocked by what they saw. They did not expect that the young man could deliver such a powerful blow. The young man attacks with force, shouting out, "My punch!" His fist is filled with energy, rushing towards the elder. The strike reaches its target, releasing a powerful momentum, but the elder remains in place without flinching. The destructive energy from the impact reverberates through the environment, cracks covering the ground. The moment the young man's attack reaches Elder Ma, some of the vessels begin to break, followed by an explosion of green energy. The girls are stunned. They realize that the strength of the young man's strike is comparable to a mid-level key refining. Wang Yiling notices that the young man even destroyed the Taoist elder's weapon, making this strike even more impressive. The young man realizes that despite his success, the elder still remains unshaken. The wreckage of destroyed weapons lay on the ground, surrounded by sparking energy. Elder Ma coughs slightly, admitting that the punch wasn't bad, but hinting that it was due to the elixir he drank. But in reality, Elder Ma was actually terrified. He couldn't believe such a terrifying power. His jade weapon was almost ready, but it would take time to refine it. However, its strength would be enough for a 5th-level Qi refining attack or an attack below the 6th level. Elder Ma continues to explain the rules of joining the cult, listing 3 tests. The first is qualification. The second is character. Jiangzi interrupts, saying that the third test is finding the essence of the Tao. She turns to the young man and offers to join the cult of the sword, clarifies that he is authorized to accept students and may become his mentor. The young man ponders, realizing that participating in the trials may reveal his secret. Wang Yilin hurries him, urging him to agree sooner rather than later. However, she is now in a rage, for she does not understand. How could a mortal brat be offered such an honor? It is recalled that Jiangzi's talent is incredible and no one can compare to her. The girl doesn't understand why the young man is slow to answer. The moment of Jiangzi's birth was remembered. On that day, the sky lit up with violet light, and the purification of inner violet qi descended on the Dantian. In order to create a solid foundation, the elders made Jiangzi cultivate for 10 years, for they were afraid that it would break through to the golden core and meet the heavenly lord. Wang Yiling fiercely recalled how in Diantian, her elder sister, had endured the desecration of divine lands and the harassment of vile men. After that, she decided to go to the barren mountain to deal with the tide of zombies. The other disciples are surprised. Qi purification is the very beginning stage. But why did it take her 10 years to perfect it? The girl irritably replies that they can't understand it, because there is a saying among mortals, for those who purify Qi, the gods will never die. It is explained that the natural flow of Qi has no properties. To transform it, spiritual roots of the 5 elements are needed to transform the energy into the 5 elements, and special spiritual roots give access to unique energy. Elder Sister's purple Qi existed back in the distant past, and will exist on earth and heaven forever, making it unique. A powerful warrior with a huge glowing sword is shown standing on top of a mountain amidst lightning bolts. He was his elder sister's master and perfected her weapon. This sword can reflect blows and kill the strongest enemies. Wang Yiling explains that by using the inner violet qi, a strong foundation can be created. Jiangzi, meanwhile, promises to tell more about refinement later. Jiangzi leans over to Wei, the young man with a smile, and coquettishly asks, "What do you think, brother?" The young man ponders. If he follows his older sister, will he be able to join the cult of the sword? He is clearly interested in this option. The elder suddenly intervenes in the conversation, reminding him that Jiangzi completely ignored him. He says that he too met this young man by pure chance. Jiangzi explains that their meeting was predestined by fate, and so he will impart the fire qi absorption technique to the young man. This enrages Elder Ma, as even he himself would like to learn the technique. He also tells him about the spiritual absorption beast, which can turn magma into spiritual energy. This technique purifies qi, improves stamina, and speeds up refinement by 5 times. The young man rejoices, calling his older sister generous, for she has shared a high-level technique with him. Wang Yiling, gripped by envy, resents why the technique did not go to her. She realizes that her envy has weakened her Tao foundation. Elder Ma urges the young man to think and reminds him that his family has had a hard time. He promises that if he joins his cult, he will receive prosperity, magical artifacts, and conditions for improvement. However, the young man replies with indifference. It's no use. Then he asked what cult the elder was from. Wang Yilin is indignant, saying that anyone would have already thanked his elder sister, but the young man dares to bargain. Wang Yiling insists that he agrees more quickly, while Elder Ma finally admits that he is from the weapon purification cult. The young man is surprised and repeats the name of the cult. He then decides that he will make his choice, relying on Elder Ma's guidance. Wang Yiling is furious and demands an explanation as to why the young man chose Elder Ma. After all, he could have lived a happy life with her. His older sister is perplexed and insists that he explain his choice. A young man asks if his older sister will take the tech away from him if he tells the truth. Jiangzi promises she won't do it because she's not that mean. In that case, the young man explains the reason. For the refusal, the elder sister will not be able to become his follower. The older sister resents the assumption that she can't teach and thinks it's ridiculous. Jiang Wei tries to extinguish her anger and offers to demonstrate the opening chapter of the exercise that Big Sister gave to the crowd. The older sister says not to check on her because it was a gift and now it's up to the group. Jiang Wei turns to everyone, suggesting that they read the opening chapter together. All the students, including Old Man Ma, are intrigued and gather to learn about the exercise. The older sister watches intently and remains tense. While the others are immersed in their thoughts and trying to master the technique, Old Man Ma uses spiritual power and Jiang Wei holds the scroll. Jiang Wei asks Big Sister to study the introductory chapter on cultivation herself. The older sister decides to prove she can teach and takes a scroll to show how mastery begins. She explains that to purify Qi, you must first learn to manage your internal energy. Elder sister reveals the detailed pattern of energy circulation in the body, stating that it is possible to master a simple level of technique in 3 days. Jiang Wei notes his older sister's extraordinary genius and wonders about the evaluations of others. The younger sister admits that it takes her a month to reach the entry-level art. Old Man Ma explains that even he, the experienced one, would take 7 days to pre-master this technique. The older sister wonders why it took so long and reasons that success is only possible with unity of body, mind, and spirit. She says that if the process is repeated for 3 more days, the body defense technique will be formed and reach a small perfection. The others admit they don't understand the explanations. It all sounds too abstract. Old Man Ma thinks diagrams will be required. The older sister gets annoyed, not understanding what's so hard about it. Jiang Wei remarks that as a genius, she is unable to understand the real difficulties of ordinary people in cultivation training. Jiang Wei says that Old Man Ma is a better teacher for him because it is easier for him to understand ordinary students, and Old Man Ma agrees. Jiang Wei ponders that the older sister stands out too much and attracts a lot of attention, and he himself would prefer a mentor from another specialization. He is satisfied that he has accomplished his little mission. Jiang Wei's past life's assignment appears on a special screen. Join an inner sect, survive a zombie invasion, and draw a new kind of plant. Jiang Wei activates the system and starts casting a new plant. A new plant appears, the eating flower, which can eat an enemy once a day and digest it, with the ability to evolve. Jiang Wei is pleased, as this is the 7th new plant in his collection. Suddenly he notices that there is a problem. He panics, and notices something amazing and frightening. A huge flying ship appears in the sky above the forest, which stuns everyone gathered. The aircraft is beginning its ascent. It accelerates and suddenly there's a massive explosion. That explosion shook the whole neighborhood. After a powerful explosion, Jiang Wei expresses alarm along with the others, realizing that the situation is becoming dangerous. He quickly burrows into the ground to save himself, which surprises the nearby zombies. Jiang Wei suddenly gives the command to eat 10 spiritual sunflowers and plant 10 nuts. His plant nuts appear around him, protecting Jiang Wei from danger. The explosion was getting closer, and everyone panicked and ran for their lives. A huge black crater had formed where Jiang Wei had burrowed. Jiang Wei, safe among his aides, is shocked by the level of destruction and wonders if there are nuclear weapons in this world. He stands amidst the flaming wreckage, feeling the effects of the disaster. At this moment, a huge bird appears from the sky, flying towards Jiang Wei. There is a tense encounter between him and the firebird. Jiang Wei assesses the situation. The bird falls to the ground in front of Jiang Wei, and he cautiously approaches to examine it. He sees that the mysterious feathered creature is already dead and poses no threat. Jiang Wei decides to take advantage of the new opportunity and is going to plant the devouring flower. He evokes with technique the image of this flower ready for action. Devouring flower quickly leaps forward to fulfill the order. The system informs Jiang Wei that the devouring flower has absorbed the powerful firebird creature and the digestion process is underway, which was a great unexpected reward for him. Jiang Wei decides to send one of the zombies to investigate the crash core to find out what's in there. The zombie with a frightened expression begins to perform the task. While Jiang Wei watches from the sidelines, the zombie approaches a certain place and suddenly stops, which makes him nervous. In front of him on the ground is a mysterious girl in unusual armor who appears to be lying unconscious. She appears defenseless, but is surrounded by streams of energy. Jiang Wei recognizes her as the same girl who appeared in the sky during the zombie invasion. He recalls his earlier suspicions that she was either the zombie king or the source of the whole wave of infestation. It comes as a surprise to Jiang Wei that this girl was able to attack with such a force as a nuclear blast and destroyed the airship. From the look of her, he realizes that she is still alive. Jiang Wei is terrified. If the girl wakes up, he won't be able to survive in the world of immortals for a second. She won't be fooled by even the most clever trick. He tensely ponders his next course of action, reaching out to the girl confusedly. Jiang Wei pondered whether it would be effective to sow another devouring flower against a creature of this level. Inwardly, he convinces himself that risk is a noble thing, for only in danger can one find wealth and power. The girl suddenly opens her eyes, her gaze filled with power and wonder. Jiang Wei realizes it's over and panics at the impending threat. Jiang Wei is dazed and confused, lying next to a mysterious girl with long hair and an unusual outfit. The girl shows him something with her hand. Jiang Wei is shocked when the girl's hand reaches out to him. Jiang Wei notices a holographic message that announces a new plant available for picking. Internally agitated, Jiang Wei irritably demands from the system to immediately harvest this plant. The girl's hand begins to glow with a bright magical light. The girl unleashes a powerful energy ball, preparing to attack. A huge energy vortex and a flash of magic engulfed everything around Jiang Wei. After a colossal explosion, Jiang Wei finds himself in the center of a giant crater, standing amidst the smoke. To his surprise, Jiang Wei realizes that he is still alive after this incident. He notices that the mysterious girl has disappeared. The system informs Jiang Wei that he has received a new estate and shows his location, mountain wasteland in the daytime. The girl is surprised that Jiang Wei actually obtained the ability of a master. The girl sadly realizes that her true master has indeed died. Jiang Wei ponders the fact that the synthetic version of the system passed to him after the previous owner died and wonders if there is a big mystery behind it. A girl named Yilan is angry at her master for not taking her with him and laments that she is alone. The scene changes to a sunset over an Oriental-style building. Jiang Wei, who had put on the mask, realizes that he had been too presumptuous in relying on the system and plants, thinking he was invincible. He deduces that the previous flood of zombies was bred in the estate of the system's former owner, and that he died during a battle with an airship. Jiang Wei realizes that the immortal world is extremely dangerous, so the system needs to be hidden and strengthened as soon as possible. The woman with purple hair notices the approaching danger. Jiang Wei is behind her wearing a mask. A huge airship appears in front of everyone, causing surprise and alarm. Manhwa explains that this ship was sent by a cult to investigate the cause of the zombie wave. The ship's crew reports that after fighting 5,000 rounds against a powerful enemy, they have heroically returned and appoint the older sister as temporary cult leader. Big Sister takes command, promising to fulfill her duties. Jiang Wei and Big Sister react with surprise at what is happening. Suddenly, there is a strong, magical attack coming from a group of people on the steps. Jiang Wei is stunned by what is happening, inwardly resentful that he has only become an inner disciple and someone has already been appointed as the sect leader. He is surprised by the premature appearance of the ship, as everyone should have died from the previous attack. Old Man Ma urges Jiang Wei to follow him to the mountain temple, announcing that he has the honor of entering the armorer's pavilion. Everyone goes up the mountain where they are greeted by a huge crane that will be their transportation. While flying over a mountain valley, Jiang Wei notices the beauty of the sectarian lands and compares them to descriptions from novels. He evaluates his future actions, deciding first to plant as many spiritual sunflowers as possible and grow a large number of them. Jiang Wei is confident with the system, but knows that the threats are not yet eliminated and care must be taken. He decides he must find out the truth about the zombie wave, the reasons for the death of the previous owner of the system, and possibly get more of his legacy. Using the I system, he is considering getting a plant capable of launching nuclear attacks. The girl protests vehemently, saying that Jiang Wei is only a backup for resurrection, and threatens him with punishment from her master. Elsewhere, a young man reports to the Supreme Elder about the new zombie outbreak and the pending battle for the legacy. The Supreme Elder notes that the man has not left the Foundation stage in 3 years, elevates him as a sect genius, and instructs him to take a powerful spiritual being with him. The Supreme Elder adds that the other sect geniuses have already departed, and a 9-headed python is given to him so that he can gain more inheritance. Chen Yaoji confirms that he will carry out the order, accepting the fateful mission with a burning gaze, and soon he soars into the sky on his transport in the form of a snake with many heads. Jiang Wei offers to make a deal with Yilan, promising protection in exchange for her help. Yilan responds with displeasure, showing his temper, and is transported to a deserted mountainous area during the day. Jiang Wei, 3 days later, still can't make the connection. He comes up with the idea that if Yilan agrees to help him, she will be his main trump card. Yilan concentrates and begins to gather power. Large green leaves grow under her feet, showing her spiritual abilities. Jiang Wei is surprised when he sees the magic leaves in front of him. Yilan hides inside the leaves, showing his disdain. Jiang Wei decides not to dwell and turns his attention to managing his estate, continuing to cultivate spiritual sunflowers. A cheerful spiritual sunflower appears in the bed. Meanwhile, Yilan reaches out from under the leaves to grab a sunflower. Sunflower was startled when he found himself inside Yilan's green shell. Jiang Wei notices that Yilan has started eating the plant and is surprised at her appetite. He tries giving Yilan another plant, asking if she wants to eat it. Yilan abruptly rejects the new plant, showing his displeasure. The offended plant flies past Jiang Wei, nearly hitting him. At this time, an explosion occurs, and Jiang Wei watches it through his screen. Jiang Wei pondered that if Yilan started taking food, she could be grown strong and could chase away other plants. It would become a strong weapon. He notices the clone, which starts to reappear and interfere with him. The young man remembered how the old man had given him a textbook on the basics of blacksmithing to study on his own. Jiang Wei recalled how Old Man Ma had led him through the mountain gate 3 days ago. Old Man Ma explained that Jiang Wei must learn the most basic fundamentals. Old Man Ma explained that he couldn't take care of him yet and told him to stay outside. Jiang Wei tried to resent it, wanting to choose another mentor. Old Man Ma burst out and announced that all the elders were urgently gathering to discuss important matters. Old Man Ma left Jiang Wei his token, which he could use to visit different places in the sect. Jiang Wei assured Old Man Ma that he could take care of himself on his own and wished him success in his endeavors. Then, rumors spread that Old Man Ma had used power to guide the poor guy into the sect directly. Other disciples discussed that even those who had remained in the lowest positions in the sect for many years didn't deserve such a promotion. Jiang Wei concluded that there was a dark side to everything. Later, he decides to go outside and reaches for the door. He is met outside the door by a crowd of disgruntled students. They accuse Jiang Wei of not greeting his sect brothers and ask what punishment he should receive. Jiang Wei parried that he expected to see spiritual beasts, but only met annoying flies. One of the students threatens that if he is insulted again, he has the right to kill Jiang Wei. Another disciple advises Jiang Wei to apologize if he wants to stay in the sect. Jiang Wei refuses to comply and tells him not to be distracted from improving. One of the disciples accuses Jiang Wei of being stubborn, asking if he really needs to be at death's door to ask for mercy. Jiang Wei asks if the flame clam chi swallowing martial arts technique is what they came to him for. Students recognize that this advanced technique is too difficult for a poor beginner like him. They demand Jiang Wei to hand over the technique and promise to protect him if he joins their sect, behaving in a mocking and familiar manner. Masked Jiang Wei compares the local kids to wild dogs, claiming that a light punishment is enough to make them become honest. The angry disciples threaten Jiang Wei, saying that not even the gods will save him. A guy named Qi Yuzhou approaches them and asks them not to make life difficult for Jiang Wei since he is from the alchemy pavilion. The other disciples are amazed by Qi Yuzhou's appearance and discuss his high talents in alchemy. Qi Yuzhou explains that the decision to accept a new disciple was made together by the sect leader and Old Man Ma, and advises that the matter should not be discussed lightly. Qi Yuzhou proposes to settle all disputes between disciples at the sect competition in a month's time. The disciples look angrily at Jiang Wei and silently agree. One of the disciples reluctantly agrees to relent and discusses that Jiang Wei is still powerless with his middle spirit fire root. Qi Yuzhou meets Jiang Wei and says that he is Elder Wen's disciple from the alchemy pavilion. Jiang Wei is surprised that Qi Yuzhou is not afraid of the consequences. Qi Yuzhou says that these guys aren't dangerous. It's the people behind them who are dangerous. Qi Yuzhou mentions Prince Tianlan, but Jiang Wei doesn't know who that is. Qi Yuzhou explains that it's about a prince of the Tianlan Principality possessing the blood of a heavenly wolf. Blondie tells us that this prince is a true disciple and achieved great skill at the age of 16. Qi Yuzhou asks Jiang Wei to help as his teacher was seriously injured and needs holy medicine to treat him. He promises Jiang Wei's help in confronting Prince Tianlan. Jiang Wei admits that he doesn't have the right elixirs to help. However, they try to stop him and prevent him from leaving by holding his arm. Qi Yuzhou explains that heavenly wolf blood is prized. The prince wants to make Ziyue his concubine, and they want to take away Jiang Wei's martial arts skill. Jiang Wei asks a strange question about the reproduction of cultivators. He ponders, how did the blood of the celestial wolf come about? Did it really come from ordinary wolves? Chiyuzhou explains that the origin of the blood is related to the highest level of transformation skill, and advises him to be careful how he expresses himself so that there won't be any rumors about the prince's origin. Afterward, the characters poke fun at each other for careless words. Chiyuzhou gives Jiang Wei a piece of black iron essence and asks him not to tell anyone. Jiang Wei learns that the material can be synthesized and ponders whether to put it together. He decides that he will not harm Chiyuzhou on purpose. He wonders what the black iron essence can be combined with. The system or inner voice says, nuts. The nut becomes incredibly strong and can take a hit at level 9 QI purification. Jiang Wei rejoices at the benefit. A small piece of essence has become huge and has made a big profit. He asks Chiyuzhou if there is still black iron essence left. Chiyuzhou explains that this material is very valuable, can increase the sharpness of a sword by 10 times, and is expensive. Jiang Wei pretends to be interested just for fun, actually wanting to try more recipes. Jiang Wei confesses that he had already swallowed the elixir once when he found it in the mountains when he was weak. Chiyuzhou is about to ask Jiang Wei for a favor. Even though he understands that the request is hard, Jiang Wei remarks that if the request is excessive, he should have apologized first, as he himself had done recently. Chiyuzhou admits it was his own fault because he only thought of his own, and decided to give away his one piece of black essence. He then holds out a vial of fire chi pills that could help fire root cultivators. Jiang Wei notices that there are only 5 pills, and says that it's not enough for long-term use. Chiyuzhou explains that each pill is worth 5 spirit stones, and it is not easy to create them. Jiang Wei softens and says that he was just curious, willing to listen to Chiyuzhou's request. Chiyuzhou says that after consuming the elixir, remnants of it might have remained in the blood, and asks Jiang Wei to provide additional materials to prepare the healing medicine. Chiyuzhou is surprised and doesn't understand why he was given a whole plant. Looking out from behind the sunflower toy, Jiang Wei replies that he does so because he is kind and generous. Jiang Wei hands the plant to Chiyuzhou and admits that he lied to the others by saying he ate the entire plant, though he actually only took 1 bite. Jiang Wei explains that he really only tasted the plant and stashed it away in storage. Chiyuzhou examines the plant and is amazed that it is an innate spirit plant, rare, with extremely pure spiritual power. Jiang Wei does not know the value of the plant and admits that he has never encountered anything good in his life. Chiyuzhou clarifies that a whole such plant would be worth tens of thousands of spirit stones at auction, and even with the flaws, it remains very valuable. Jiang Wei notes that he doesn't have many friends, and Chiyuzhou helped him by showing respect to his elders, so he decided to give him the plant as a gift. Chiyuzhou is so impressed by the value of the gift that he has a desire to repay Jiang Wei, and he runs away, promising to return soon. Jiang Wei ponders whether Chiyuzhou will run away, but he is sure that with his status, he cannot do so. Jiang Wei contacts the system, asking if the fire key pill can be synthesized. The system detects suitable material and offers to collect it. Jiang Wei is excited to take advantage of it. The virtual plant absorbs the fire pill, and the transformation process begins. There is a powerful burst of energy. The process is complete. In front of Jiang Wei, a new blue fiery creature capable of attacking appears. The system informs Jiang Wei that this is Brother Angry Bob, who can create 1 fire key pill per day, whose attack power exceeds that of a cultivator at the first stage of fire key perfection. Jiang Wei realizes that he can now obtain unlimited precious pills if he obtains such creatures. Jiang Wei commands that all available plants be synthesized into fire. An army of laughing, flaming bean creatures appears before him. The creatures release many fire key pills, and the process is in flux. Jiang Wei realizes that not only has he greatly enhanced his combat power, but he has also recouped all the costs in a second, and now he will always have a huge amount of pills. Meanwhile, Chiyuzhou goes back to Jiang Wei's place. Chiyuzhou reveals that he used his merits to exchange in the library for the Emperor's fire body technique to thank Jiang Wei. Jiang Wei thinks that a top-ranked earth technique sounds very imposing. Memories tell us that techniques are divided into 4 ranks: celestial, earthly, mystic, and yellow. The technique gifted by Big Sister Yilan is actually only a low-rank mystic spell. The Emperor Fire Body technique is a pure body training technique. If perfected, the body will be able to evolve and cause rare phenomena. Chiyuzhou is convinced that the 2 techniques are perfect for training together and will bring Jiang Wei great prospects. Chiyuzhou presents Jiang Wei with an invitation to an auction where many sects will auction Natural Spiritual Fire. He advises Jiang Wei to attend the auction to see if he can find something useful for himself. Jiang Wei thanks Yuzhou and notes that he is a good man. After that, Jiang Wei asks Qi Yuzhou to do him another favor. Yuzhou assures that he will do whatever it takes at Jiang Wei's request. Jiang Wei asks for the flame-devouring technique to be returned back to Prince Tianlang's minions and spread the word. He also mentions that he accidentally told the three that he would return home in 3 days alone to retrieve the remaining elixir. Qi Yuzhou clarifies, does Jiang Wei really still have innate plant spirits? Jiang Wei confirms that this is true and asks Yuzhou to pass on the message, promising to reward him generously upon his return. Yuzhou says he is honored to help Jiang Wei and will justify his trust. Yuzhou mentally admires Jiang Wei's sharp eyes and good fortune, believing that he will definitely become a great man in the future. He believes that their friendship will bear fruit. When the heroes leave, Jiang Wei exhales in relief and notes that the people in the cultivator world are indeed very responsive. He then ponders that while the flame absorption technique is good, due to his zombie body and meager abilities, it's difficult for him to use it himself, so he'll trust everything to his assistant. He is also making plans to further evolve the bean and mass-produce the pill. He plans to get 12 beans and 12 pills daily already. Jiang Wei holds the 3 pills in his hand and decides that he will use them for cultivation in the future. As he studies the scroll, he learns that it is best to train in a place where the element of fire is active in order to temper the body and possibly obtain the body of a holy fire spirit in the future. Jiang Wei reflects on the essence of the technique. In brief, the essence is to be one with fire, which scares him because even drinking hot water is difficult for him. Remembering that he could hardly feel any pain now, Jiang Wei decides to practice and has already thought of a place to practice. With enthusiasm, he sets off to his chosen place to practice. Jiang Wei walks over to the weapons cleaning pavilion. The pavilion cleans weapons with earth fire, one of the hottest flames after spiritual and uncommon fire. Each room has an underground crucible with blast and interference protection, making this place perfect for cultivation. He cautiously makes his way inside the room. Upon entering, Jiang Wei sees a huge bonfire and forging equipment. Feeling the heat, he begins to sense the presence of the element of fire. Jiang Wei takes the pill and starts practicing. He absorbs the fire element with a special technique and strengthens his body with another method. The fire energy begins to swirl around him. Jiang Wei reacts sharply and jumps up. The technique proves to be very powerful, and he decides to continue practicing. He realizes that spiritual energy must circulate freely for successful cultivation, but his energy is stagnant. Only a small portion of the energy is converted into fire energy. The rest is burned, while his body burns as well. Jiang Wei reflects on his journey, remembering that his life on Earth has been mediocre, and fears that this is the end of his journey. He is unwilling to surrender to the difficulties and wants to change his destiny. Jiang Wei realizes that he has been given a second chance and wants to use it for success and immortality. He aspires to succeed among the immortals and wants to prove his worth despite his past. Jiang Wei enthusiastically declares the pursuit of prosperity and the attainment of heaven. He calls the system to change the location to a deserted mountainous area. Next, he orders a row of spiritual sunflowers to be planted and plucked out. Surrounded by sunflowers, Jiang Wei continues to study. A plant with human hands appears. Yilan emerges from the plant, indicating her master's superiority to the others. Jiang Wei expresses the lack of time and hurries over. He burns in a huge flame as he continues to cultivate. Jiang Wei realizes that the sunflowers intensify the flames instead of alleviating them. In that case, the young man pulls out an iron nut. Jiang Wei starts to eat the mysterious nut. After that, he drinks the contents, iron juice. He rejoices as the iron juice helps and decides to continue. To further strengthen his body, Jiang Wei uses the essence, shards, and eats them all. He continues to greedily eat chunks of iron essence. The fire burns his body, and the essence helps temper his body. However, he realizes that if he overdoes it, he can become an Iron Man, and the right techniques are still not mastered. Jiang Wei falls into despair, wondering if it is impossible to jump the stage of turning from zombie to human. At that moment, he notices something unusual on the system panel. Jiang Wei recalled that he had once absorbed a fire spirit bird at the early stage of becoming a cultivator, and now after digesting it, he was left with the egg of that bird. In addition to tempering the body with flames, the Fire Emperor body technique has a secret way to take away the abilities of fire spirit beasts and speed up the body transformation. Jiang Wei realizes that the mysterious beast is very unusual, and its strength should suit a young cultivator. At the Qi refining stage, Jiang Wei dares to activate his power by holding this magic egg. A powerful stream of fire burst out from Jiang Wei's body, and the spell began to take effect right in his abdomen. At this moment, a true fire creature that looked like a phoenix would emerge from Jiang Wei. The fiery phoenix is carried high into the sky, and Jiang Wei is amazed by its sight and power. Jiang Wei decides not to miss the chance and grabs the phoenix to fully wield its power. He begins to devour the creature, showing great determination and greed for power. The fiery flames rise up to the ceiling, and Jiang Wei stands all engulfed in fuego, feeling a huge surge of energy. 3 days later, a new golden energy formed inside Jiang Wei, obviously having completed the integration with his body. He picks up a wooden mask depicting a sunflower. After putting on the mask, Jiang Wei is satisfied that he has succeeded. The panel now indicates Jiang Wei's new characteristics: enhanced spiritual roots, fire crow heritage, Yandi's strength, and the mysterious black iron essence. The cool, unexpected result was that Jiang Wei's body had absorbed the mysterious essence, making it now able to withstand even bullets. Jiang Wei, wearing a mask, walks out into the courtyard, where he is spotted by Qi Yuzhou and is glad he hasn't left yet. Qi Yuzhou starts pulling Jiang Wei towards him, explaining that outsiders are not allowed to enter the alchemist caves and that he can hide at his place. Qi Yuzhou confesses that he accidentally gave away the secret about gathering herbs, causing Prince Tianlan to find them. They were assigned to lead a detachment that had already assembled at the gates of the mountains. Jiang Wei tries to stop Qi Yuzhou and doesn't let himself be led away despite the latter's attempts. Qi Yuzhou is surprised because he can't move Jiang Wei, which shows that the hero's strength has grown. Jiang Wei decides to go out on his own to join those coming at the gate so as not to disturb Brother Qi. Qi Yuzhou warns that Jiang Wei is no match for Prince Tianlan, whose strength is reaching the peak of Qi refining and is about to go to the next level. But Jiang Wei is confident and says that his desire for the Tao is no less than others. And if he doesn't struggle, he won't be able to walk the path of cultivation with honor. He ponders that if he allows himself to be abused today, he will be bullied altogether tomorrow, so he can't give up. Jiang Wei gets angry and remembers that he had accumulated a lot of spiritual energy in 3 days, exchanged it for special items, and was now ready to fight back. He has a powerful weapon, a big killer that he hides in a green sheath. Qi Yuzhou looks after Jiang Wei, amazed at his determination. He realizes that he shouldn't be afraid either, if Jiang Wei isn't afraid. Qi Yuzhou decides to seek help from the temporary sect head first. Jiang Wei calmly walks out to the gate under the archway. Meanwhile, Qi Yuzhou rushes to the sect's main building to ask for intervention. Once at the door, he reports the situation to a girl with long, dark hair, the temporary head of the sect. The older sister listens to him carefully, concentrating her power. Qi Yuzhou wonders to herself that despite being overwhelmed by the enormous workload of sect affairs, Big Sister has been able to maintain outstanding strength. Her innate power is constantly refining spiritual energy. That's why she is so strong. Thibai. Girl asks what's wrong and listens to Qi Yuzhou's report. Qi Yuzhou reports that Prince Tianlang has assembled a squad to seize the elixir from a new disciple and asks her to intervene for justice. 4-0. Girl recognizes that the prince's behavior is unacceptable and plans to go with Qi Yuzhou to the scene. On the way, she clarifies who this new student is and why the mentor didn't stop him. Qi Yuzhou replies that he is Wang Fa's, Jiang Wei, younger brother, whose strength has increased due to the elixir, and old man Ma was busy so far, so he didn't pay attention. In a joking way, the older sister decides that she'll let the new kid get a lesson on his own, if anything. Qi Yuzhou explains to his sister that Wang Fa's younger brother has some skills but hasn't yet grown to significant abilities, so he fears that Prince Tianlan won't be able to control his power. The girl tells Qi Yuzhou that he, as a representative of the alchemy pavilion and possessing a unique body, can easily handle the ordinary Prince Tianlan. Qi Yuzhou admits that he was too engrossed in finding a breakthrough in alchemy and breathing in the mysterious fire, causing him to still not recover from his injuries, but his older sister demands to go. Jiang Wei smiles, mentally noting that his abilities are now completely synchronized. The young man appears in front of the others, surrounded by flames, which startles the bystanders. Jiang Wei feels very good thanks to the new strength. He decides it's too risky to use only one divided body, so he wants to use the full power of his main body to participate in what's going on. Jiang Wei is certain, whether you are a genius or a villain, within one skill level, he would be invincible. At this time, Chen Yaojie appears, standing on a multi-headed serpent essence. He reflects that every century a new generation of gifted is born, and a genius with a special constitution is considered the pride of heaven. Chen Yaoji talks about himself. He was born with a Zhuangguan body, joined the Shengguang sect and mastered the unique heavenly technique. He believes that he should be the first in his generation. He recognizes that only Jiang Ziyue of the Biquan sect can match him in innate qi, but his foundation is already much stronger. This time, Chen Yaojie intends to capture Jiang Ziyue and make her his maid. The action shifts to the Sichuan Mountains. Chen Yaoji wonders if the zombie invasion is happening here, seeing a lot of low-level zombies around. Sure, he can slay hundreds of enemies, but he can't get close to the heart of the events and obtain the Heavenly Monarch's legacy. He decides that when he subdues Jiang Ziyue and brings her here, she will watch in admiration as he solves the riddle of the legacy. Suddenly, Chen Yaoji notices a stranger among the humans and zombies. Taking a closer look, he realizes it's not a zombie, but a monk. Zhang Wei dreams of how great it would be to fly, and hopes to have a flying creature someday. Suddenly, he notices Chen Yaoji on a giant beast moving straight towards him. Chen Yaoji is approaching. Zhang Wei is wary. He flies very close to Zhang Wei, preparing to dialogue. Chen Yaoji is the first to question Zhang Wei about his origins. Zhang Wei irritably replies that he is from Earth. The white-haired man explains that he was asking about Zhang Wei's sect and the reason for his solitary stay at the epicenter of the zombie invasion. Zhang Wei replies sharply that it is none of his business. The characters are facing each other, with tension between them. Chen Yaoji decides that since Zhang Wei is alone, he will not be ceremonious with him. He releases streams of blue energy or fire at Zhang Wei, attacking him. Zhang Wei is astonished at the suddenness of the attack. He miraculously dodges, but resents his opponent's actions. Chen Yaoji notes with interest that Zhang Wei is defenseless and not attacked by zombies, which means he has a magic artifact. Chen Yaoji demands to hand over the artifact, promising to spare Zhang Wei's life and reward him after he solves the mystery of the invasion. Zhang Wei rather notes to himself that the opponent, without knowing it himself, has decided to play by his rules. Zhang Wei confirms that the sect elder had indeed given him a magic item. He displays this item, an unusual-looking green living plant. Chen Yaoji is surprised. According to him, this spirit plant does have some kind of power, but he doesn't quite understand exactly how it helps him avoid zombies. Chen Yaojie takes the plant and obviously tries to understand its nature. Meanwhile, Zhang Wei swiftly ran away, taking advantage of the moment. Chen Yaoji stares at him in bewilderment, the mysterious creature still in his hand, which suddenly begins to glow and grow, causing him to startle. Chen Yaoji is shocked and frightened. By what he sees, extreme surprise is evident on his face. There is a massive explosion, flames and flares flying in all directions. Zhang Wei, with a careless look, rubbing his eye, was curious if the opponent had died. Chen Yaoji turns up alive and appears in the magical protective barrier, suspecting a trick, and asks how many such spiritual plants Zhang Wei has. Chen Yaoji concentrates the energy in his fists, preparing for further action. He retrieves the shining sword, explaining that he had previously spared Zhang Wei because of his hard-to-penetrate aura. Chen Yaoji, with a menacing face, makes a crushing attack on Zhang Wei, shrouded in blue flames. Meanwhile, Zhang Wei notes to himself that it looked like he was running away, but he actually threw something on the ground. Exploding earthy plants with flowers appear on the ground near Zhang Wei's feet. The opponents look at each other. Zhang Wei is calm, while Chen Yaoji is wary with his sword raised. A large explosion sounds again, and a thick cloud of smoke rises. Zhang Wei realizes with mixed surprise and dismay that his attack did not work. He decides to test a new attack, sending several exploding seeds at once to Chen Yaoji. Zhang Wei is suddenly astonished by something happening, a look of obvious shock and tension on his face. Chen Yaoji swings his sword in a rage, threatening to chop Zhang Wei in half. Enjoyed the video and looking forward to the next installment? Write the secret word, art, in the comments. That way I'll know you've watched to the end and want the next part. See you soon, and bye-bye.